Hi, everyone. Welcome to Chicks Talking Pics, all our San Diego groupies, and some of you from afar. So thanks for tuning in today. How are you doing, Jenny?
I'm good. I'm enjoying our nice San Diego weather that we've been having for a few days.
Yeah, I heard we're supposed to get rain coming up though.
Yep,
So
again.
by the time this episode is posted, I bet
Yep.
we have a little bit of rain coming in. So
Yeah, that's true.
good.
Yeah.
Well, we've got three images from one maker today, and that we're going to share with you. If this is the first time you're tuning in, we are two chicks that talk about your pics, and we are going to just do a nice discussion. We're not really mean. We're just going to discuss what you send us and try to give you some appropriate suggestions that you might want to change. You don't have to take them if you don't want to. We just like to share these with everybody. Again, Jenny and I both have been asked back to judge at the San Diego International Photography Exhibition again this year.
Yep.
So we will be two of your judges.
Yep.
So let's get started.
Okay.
All right, Jenny, you, like always, can
You always put
begin
me
with
in the
the,
hot seat first.
yeah.
Okay. I'm a sucker for moving water pictures. I really like taking them myself. um, some of the things that do stand out in this one, there's a couple sensor spots that would have been good to clean up, like here and here, if you're seeing my animation or annotation. Um, and that's just minor stuff, but always good to keep in mind when you do that. I don't know what the color of the water was, if it was this green. It's I guess it blends well with the yellow rocks. I might have slowed this down a little more. It's kind of at that funny spot where the water is blurred, but it's not soft. Um, I think if you went a little bit slower, and I don't know if we got information on this, Sandy will let us know. Um, maybe shoot it a little slower. Some of the whites seem a little blown out, and if you need to slow it down a little more, you can always turn to a graduated neutral density filter or a neutral density filter, not necessarily graduated. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Sandy?
Well, I can agree with you on the dust spots for sure. I see more than you pointed out.
Yeah,
And
those are
so
just the easy
just,
ones.
yeah, just, put this at 100% or even 200% and look at it a little bit more carefully. Uh, our maker did say it was an iPhone image.
Okay.
So created on an iPhone, I believe 13 Pro Max, maybe 14, I can't remember. And so we don't have any information about it, but we could have. I agree with Jenny in saying you could have slowed this down a little bit. Yeah, the whites are just a touch blown out where they're most highlighted. I really like the rocks that have had water on them. You notice that one big rock on the right is half in water, half out. It would have been nice to have that whole thing in water because it would have made it more golden instead of, even that one at the very top. It's kind of in water, half out. I know that's impossible to do unless you have rain or you shoot it with a big squirt gun and make it all wet. But anyway, uh, yeah, I would take out some of the dust spots. I think that the green is a little unusual for water. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you've seen this, and I think bluer is more the color I would expect to see,
Mm-hmm.
which would have been a little more complementary to the golden rocks.
Mm-hmm.
But as it is, I would have probably liked to seen it slowed down a little bit more. Even if you're using an iPhone, there is a way to make your images, make your water slow down. It's very simple. You can't shoot in RAW at this point. You have to put it on live mode. And once you're in live mode, you take the picture, but make sure you're holding it as steady as you can. Even on a tripod will help. And I'm not sure that the maker did this on this one because I don't think he did. But once you have the picture captured, go into your camera roll, look at the picture. If it's shot in live mode, you'll have a little live mode button at the very top left. If you touch the little arrow that goes down, you can go to long exposure. That automatically creates a longer exposure in your iPhone image. Hopefully you understand that when how I'm explaining it, and you will get a softer look to that water. So
Yep.
with all that said, we're going to move on to the next image.
Sandy taught me that technique when we were out shooting with the iPhone. I didn't know it myself.
In this one is taken with a regular DSLR camera. So, or mirrorless. I believe it's a mirrorless camera. So, this one I'll start off with, Jenny. I love the water movement in this one. I like the silky water. Sometimes you can get it too silky, but this kind of suits my taste a little better. Remember, all our comments are subjective. So, we take away a lot of experience judging and shooting ourselves. So this type of thing, you may not like it this soft, but I do personally. So I love the diagonal, the direction of the water coming through the frame is very nice. It comes in the top right corner, goes out in the bottom left corner, and mimicking that are some old railroad tracks, I believe, or some kind of a roadbed or some kind of metal that is along there. I believe it's railroad tracks because I know where this person took the picture. And I think maybe the cast, the white balance, I think Jenny can talk about. We were discussing the white balance on this. So Jenny, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Okay, yeah, I agree. I like this water motion much better, a little softer. Yeah, the white balance on this seems really cool. Even if it was taken, in shadow, which it looks like it probably was because it's in a canyon. I don't know where it is, even though Sandy says she does. But yeah, you can adjust as long as you've shot it in RAW, you can go back and adjust that white balance. And I think warm it up a little bit would help because it just has such a very cool, almost too cold a feel. The rocks don't seem quite natural being that gray, and the trees are very gray. So I think that would help just warming it up. I agree with everything else Sandy said about the diagonal. And it's got a little bit of an S curve going in the water, which is interesting. Yeah. That's all I got.
Yeah, I really like the image. I think it's really nice and pleasing, but I think if the rocks are on my monitor, which is calibrated monitor, the rocks seem a little on the blue side to me. I'd like to see them more granite or gray looking. And like Jenny said, even under those kind of shaded conditions, you've got to watch your white balance on that. And if the maker had it on auto white balance, it's easy enough to change when you go into a Lightroom or a Photoshop, or any other type of editing tool. So, just take that Kelvin slider and move it to a higher number. Just, move it to where you feel it's comfortable. Make sure you calibrate your monitors though out there. That's one thing that we see a lot of maybe pictures that come in that we feel maybe the maker didn't calibrate their monitor. Not in this case, but I've seen that in other images that I've wondered about. Right. So, and a good person for that, should we mention John Watts?
Oh, yeah.
I don't see why not. If you're a San Diego a resident, John is very accessible. Even if you're not, I'm sure he can do something online with you. But
Yeah.
so Watts Digital Imaging. And I mention him because John, because he's one of the judges at the fair. Also, he can give a lot of good feedback on your images, and he prints, and he's a master printer. So, just maybe consider even looking into John's website and see what you can find. Again, Watts Digital Imaging.
And I can
Just
put a
Google.
link in the show notes.
Yeah. Okay. Jenny will put a link in the show notes.
So
yeah,
down here for the link.
Down there to the link. Okay. And so I just wanted to add that this was shot at a 0.4 of a second. Or very, very slow. Let's put it that way. That was the information that was sent to me at an f4, which is unusual. I thought was kind of probably getting the most out of the darkness in the canyon. So he was shooting wide open, which I might have given it a little more. Personally, I might have shot this at, I don't know, an f11 at least, maybe. I don't know, Jenny.
Yeah, I mean, definitely could have raised the ISO to get to change the f-stop, because today's cameras, you can go much higher on ISO without adding much noise at all.
But even at 100%, I do see a lot of detail in the foreground all the way to the background.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
seem to have
I think it's well done. We're well done. No complaints. All right, let's take a look at his next image. Jenny, go ahead. You're first.
Okay. I mean, one of the first things that stands out is just the nice S curve you have in the water here. S curves are always appealing compositionally. There are a number of distractions in the water, just little things. And Sandy and I were discussing these. There's these little, it could be rocks. I imagine they're natural. But sometimes they're just a little distracting, and they're easy enough to take out, as long as, if you're submitting this, if you're allowed to do that kind of thing. Sometimes removing things isn't allowed. The background's has a little bit of a glow to it, where the trees meet the mountain, but sometimes that happens when you just have a kind of haze building up. I've noticed that on some of my images. And so then I sometimes go in and just try and tone down that intersection so it doesn't seem like it glows so much, because it's kind of distracting. It also feels like the whole image is tilted a little.
Yeah.
To my right.
I agree with you there. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add there? Go ahead.
Well, I don't, I see the glow that you're talking about, but it doesn't bother me. I think it's kind of, you've got your blues and your golds again in the image. I think the maker took advantage of that. And yeah, I think the tilt is just a little off. Bring up the right side a little. It almost feels like the water should be running to the right, but it's very, very, very mild. It's maybe, an eighth of an inch, a quarter of an inch of them. I don't even think it's a quarter of an inch, just a little tiny bit on the right-hand side. I like the foreground because you've got this nice color on the left side that's kind of leading you into, it's not really leading you into it. It's kind of blocking you out of the rest of the scene, but it doesn't bother me so much because I follow that S curve all the way through the water. But it does, to me, it adds depth. So you've got this nice foreground on the left, you've got middle ground, you've got that darker blues in the background. I think the sky, if it was technically legal in the competition you were putting this in, which it is, I believe, in the fair, is it not, Jenny? You can replace the sky.
I am not
good question.
certain on that for all categories.
Yeah, so watch the category in that. I think the sky is white, and I think that's reflecting in the water. So I know it's hard to get back to a place and wait for a better sky and all that stuff, but that would have probably improved the image a little bit if you'd waited for a little bit better sky. And now we're nitpicking. So, I don't think this is a bad image. I love the image. I'm not sure that it would fly. I don't know. The landscape has changed. The category in the fair has changed. So I don't think it's broken out into summer, winter, fall, and whatever it was before. I think it's all one landscape category. Is that right?
I got the impression they'll still have the seasonal ones, but they'll also have a non-seasonal.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But I'm not positive on that, but that's the impression I got, was that they were adding a non-seasonal category.
Okay. So watch your category on this one, and change that horizon just a little bit.
Yeah, and I think
Another
it's
thing
that road or whatever's behind the trees that really gives away that there's a tilt.
Yes. Yeah, I think you're right. It's the road that gives it away, or that whatever that little bare
Light.
spot is you
Yeah.
see. Yeah, that line of bare spot. Now, next time, for those of you that are looking at doing images like this, I think maybe if it's not windy and you can keep those trees pretty much, a little bit longer exposure would have really made a difference in the flow of the river, and might have really captured a neat scene, slowed down the water a little bit, made it more silky looking. I don't know. I might try that one if I was in front of this, depending on the conditions, of course. If you had wind, then you're going to mess up the whole trees and everything, right? You're going to get too much movement. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and the other thing, going back to the sky, I'm wondering if you just shot it at a different angle where you didn't have the sky.
Oh, right.
And you wouldn't have that whole plain white.
Crop the sky out. Because you're
Try
not
that too.
adding anything to the image. So yeah, good suggestions. So hopefully that's helpful for everybody. Let's see what the maker shot that at. Oh, sorry, it's small. Oh, there we go. So 1/25th of a second. So like I was saying, slow it down to, I don't know, maybe a 1/8 or a 1/4 of a second or something like that. Just if if the weather or the conditions were cooperating. Shot at 7:1, which it works. It keeps everything pretty tack sharp. And ISO 1250 again. We were lacking light, probably a lot of light in this.
But this one's much higher. The last one was at 100.
Right.
So, yeah.
So good. All right. Well, hopefully that was all helpful. Next week, our next episode, we're going to talk more about entering the San Diego International Photography Exhibition.
I think.
The title's so much longer than it used to be. So I have to think about it every time I say it. But we're really looking forward to discussing more of your images, and we suggest you get them in soon. We are already developing a queue. We're behind a few weeks. So if you're thinking about entering, now is the time to get them critiqued or discussed, so you can make changes, and then get the entry date is Monday, April 17th, April 17th, Monday, April 17th.
That's the last day to enter.
That's the last day to enter the exhibition.
Yeah,
and
they're already open now to take entries.
Yes, open now. So our schedule is every 2 weeks posting. So that will, this is February 10th already, or this is when we're recording. I think Jenny's going to post this shortly after this recording. So, so we're going to get maybe maybe
2 or 3 episodes before.
2 or 3, 4, maybe more episodes in before the deadline. So send your images to chickstalkingpics@gmail.com. Load them up at 1920 pixels on the longest side and in JPEG format. That would help us, so we don't have to go through. If you want to give us your metadata, your shooting, what you shot it at, that would be great. It just helps other people down the road. We discuss it. If you give it to us, if you don't, we don't talk about it. So, so great.
And you're watching us on YouTube, so go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the all so you get notified when we send out an episode. We try and do them every 2 weeks, but sometimes other things get in the way. So, yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks, Jenny. See you next couple weeks, and everybody have fun. Get out there and shoot.
Yep. All righty.
Bye-bye.
Bye.